Alright, y'all, running it back with another replay. Casted another Ogres game. That's probably going to be the first one I upload. But definitely wanted to bring attention to this game because I'm bringing in the Gnoblar scrap launchers. I actually think they're pretty good in this matchup, if you want my opinion, honestly. Little Grom outtrades Iron Blasters pretty efficiently. If you brought double Iron Blasters in, Little Grom would have a little bit more difficult of a time. That's a huge gold investment, and double Iron Blaster is boring, and I don't like bringing it, you know. The only time I bring it is against Ogres, other Ogres, because, as you can see, my opponent brought a very, very meta, outside of Greasus, Ogre build, double Iron Blaster, and tons of Gorgers. Anyways, talking about this game, getting off topic. Gnoblar Scrap Launcher is pretty cheap, and you can just summon it in. It does great missile damage, you know. I know it says it's doesn't have a lot of armor-piercing value, but it's so high value that against infantry, that armor-piercing damage will get through anything, you know. I mean, the Streltsy, the armored Kossars, Zargard aren't going to like getting shot by those projectiles. So I was just going to see how they worked out in this matchup, and you can see I'm going really wide with Ogres, and my opponent's going fairly... Kislev never has huge armies, but even still, this is fairly elite for a Kislev force. You know, he's bringing a boyar, going a little cheaper with the lords. One unit of warbears at the start, Zargard at the start, Streltsy, and 2 Kossars, and the Frostmaiden Tempest. A really fun caster. I know a lot of people like to bring the the Ice Maiden. The Ice Maiden for the Heart of Winter, which is a fantastic spell. Honestly better than Final Transmutation because of its slowing effect, preventing enemies from just running out of its effect area. More Warbears in the reserve, Little Grom in the reserve, Griffin Legion, another unit of Streltsy, 1 Winged Lancer, 1 more Armored Kossar, and 1 Horse Archer, who I think provide good applications of damage against squishy, armorless Ogre units. And just Kossar Spears. These guys should be the backbone of any Kislev army against Ogres. With the spears, they trade effectively into the Gorgers. Gorgers will tear apart Kossars, but obviously the price difference makes it not really all that worth it. So you have to buffer effectively on top of them, and the shooting pressure is really good against Gorgers because they have 15 armor. Pathetic. They block absolutely nothing, really. So yeah, Kossars, very cost-effective against Ogres, and obviously good against, you know, everything that doesn't have great armor. The only exception is Iron Guts, who do trounce these guys pretty seriously in this matchup. But yeah, for my army, I'm going to bring Skrag, just a great lord. You know, just worth bringing almost all the time. Maneater, Ogre Pistol, really great unit. These guys are going to do some pretty good work. I'm only bringing 1 because I wanted to bring some Lead Belchers, because I found that with the amount of infantry that Kislev can put on the field, they can go really wide, and Ogres suffer pretty hard against that. So I brought 1 unit of these guys at the start, just to cause massive disruption and damage against those tight Kislev formations. Gnoblar Trappers and 2 Gnoblars. I think this is a pretty standard chaff opening for Ogres. Just wanted these guys to trap up any units that are diving backline stuff. And then the 2 regular Gnoblars just to push forward and buffer for Gorgers or Iron Guts or whatever the hell you bring. You know? Go crazy, y'all. 1 regular Maneater. Good armor piercing. Good melee stats. Nothing fancy, but really strong, and immune to psychology, 80 leadership. That's really important for Ogres because you can see the leadership on a lot of these units is sub 50. I mean, Saber-Tusk only have 48 leadership. Gnoblar is only 45. Regular Gnoblar is 45. 60 on most of the other units. Gorger's unbreakable, but Man-Eaters, I think, with the good leadership, can stay in a fight for a long time. That's really important, especially against scary, big stuff. Kislev doesn't really have anything that causes terror, other than the Elemental Bear. I'm pretty sure causes terror. But in lots of other matchups, that immune psychology makes a huge difference. So yeah, 4 Iron Fist Ogre Bulls, 4 Saber-Tusks for mass pressure, and 4 more Gnoblar Trappers. I think these guys are really, really good to pick apart these really unarmored Kossars. They can creep around the battlefield, sneak in, throw their little scraps, run away, trap up any units that try to jump on them for ranged pressure and other fast response units to get in and provide support for them. I think these guys are a really important unit to keep alive for Ogres. But yeah, we're going to jump in here and we'll see how the battle goes. Silver Spire. One of my favorite maps, honestly, and I think one of the best maps for Ogres, because they can make up that distance from the spawns into the middle really quickly. So they can play very effectively on it. It's going to be interesting to see people's realizations about the nature of the maps and how they play into the strengths of the various factions. Because I think this is one of the best for Ogres in some ways, and also one of their worst. This map does give lots of areas to hide from Iron Blasters and play, you know, footsie and peekaboo with them. But because Ogres are so fast on their bigger units, they can just rush in here in the middle. So honestly, I think it behooves Ogres to play a little less range focus. Like, bring ranged pressure, don't get me wrong, it's very important for Ogres to have, but don't rely on it. You know, don't be trying to shoot an opponent off of this objective. Instead, focus on trying to fight effectively on the objective. Because Kislev's units are faster than some, slower than Ogres, though. So, you know, they have a little bit of a march to get into the middle. So you can flood while the enemy has to slow push back in. Something very important to keep in mind when playing the objective. I'm just going to move forward, you know. I want to get set up early against my opponent here. Because I saw a little Grom wasn't on the field. So I felt comfortable just moving in straight up, getting ready and posturing forward. My opponent doing the same thing, obviously. Fast forward just a little bit, just because this map is quite wide and takes some time for units to get in position. And here we go. Okay. Got a unit of Gnoblar Trappers that I summoned in over here. These guys are going to be the bait, one. But then also, if he doesn't respond to them, he can just come in here and poke, you know. Take shots from the armored Kossars. Not ideal for them, but still better the ammo wasted on these guys than on lead belchers, man-eater pistols. Especially the Gorgers, though. They get destroyed by Kislev pistols, man. My opponent moving to the low ground with these horse archers. I think he could have foregone moving these guys down here and come up here just to poke at Gnoblars and even the lead belchers. Just to get some damage on them, because these guys are really squishy. You know, and the more models they drop, the less effective their fire becomes. I see all the infantry he's got, so first scrap launcher's coming out. And it can come out really early, because it's only 900 gold. It's not too hard to save up 900 gold for a ranged piece, you know. Here, my opponent's diving right in with the Warbears, man, getting in on these little Gnoblar Trappers. Poor little guys. They've got their traps down, and these guys are slowed, getting a little bit of damage on them. And the Iron Blaster, the Man-Eaters with their pistols, man, get a huge volley on these guys. Take a decent amount of their health off, too. And you can see, they're just plinking away at them. I'm rushing in with my Gorgers, baiting my opponent back in there. Really wanted him to come in and try and jump on these guys while they were out of position. Move the Gnoblars in to try and trap the Warbears up. But you can see the mass they have. They just push right out. One guy gets trapped in here, and the Gorgers start jumping in. At this point, my Gnoblars are jumping in on his infantry formation, so I decide I'm just going to dive right in here. Just get in on these Warbears and start trying to do good damage against them. Biting Wind comes in, not the most efficient cast of it, but it did do more damage to these Gorgers than I thought it would. And you can see how much damage these guys are taking from all this range pressure. This wasn't a great fight for me to take, per se, but really the only thing here that I'm super worried about is these Warbear Riders. I'm trying to get them off the field. You can see, with these lead belchers, I'm tearing these Zargard apart, and all they're doing is fighting some Gnoblars. Not cost effective in the least. Look at that damage, man. Trappers throwing their weapons in, and you can see I'm using the scrap launcher to fire at these Streltsy, who I can't get to quite yet. Skrag's starting to take some fire now that my opponent has focused down the majority of the Gorgers. Just one left, or just a few left. 3 here, the other one just went down. He's gotten really good value from these Warbear Riders and the Boyar already, but the ranged pressure's really starting to put a hampering on my opponent's ability to maintain here in the middle, with his infantry getting absolutely torched. Gnoblar Trappers throwing in here against the Streltsy do good damage, you can see, and break their leadership and force boyar blood out. And oh, what a shot. Love to see it coming in here. I think the Gnoblar scrap launchers are pretty good in this matchup. They got a good arc of fire and they can do pretty good damage. My regular man-eaters in here now, jumping in on these. Another unit of Warbear Riders came in while I wasn't looking. And this first unit dead already. Man, good damage there. Skrag holding in the middle like a champion, man. Doing good work. And these pistols have just been able to sit here, fire all game. Right now they're obstructed by their fellow man-eaters in combat there. But you'll see them every now and then getting a couple shots in there on these on the flanks of these guys. Boyar's getting worked down pretty good. And you can see how well these man-eaters hold up against a dedicated anti-large unit. Put a good pounding on them. With the saturating support from the man-eaters, it's a good situation to be in. These lead belchers have been uncontested this whole game. He brought his horse archers up finally to start picking at these guys. But 2 Gnoblar trappers are here, and my opponent's not paying attention, and these guys are getting massacred here. A really good piece, cost-effective trade against the lead belchers, gone entirely, and they've routed this unit of armored Kossars now. And you can see these guys getting just absolutely dump trucked in the background there. Ogre Bull Iron Fist pushing in, stopping up winged Hussars and Streltsy. The Gnoblar trappers, man, have been really valuable. Still firing in on these guys. Need to switch to another target, preferably onto these Kossars. Saber Tusk coming in, getting ready for another fight. And yeah, Warbears, Griffin Legion. Man-eaters still fighting in the pits. Their leadership really paying off there, man. Hailstorm coming down. Or Biting Wind, sorry. I'm getting in good damage on my pistols here. Drop the Troll Guts because I want to keep these guys alive, because they're fighting against the Griffin Legion right now. And, you know, you can see they're in pretty decent combat there for a hot second, taking ranged fire too, and, you know, holding, man. These guys are tanks in their own right. Same melee stats, actually, as the regular man-eaters, just with the addition of an ungodly amount of ranged firepower. You know, Warbears jumping in on them, trying to get rid of these guys. I'm sitting here with Skrag because I'm dropping heals on other stuff. He's a little tattered right now. Just running around with him. Just want to use my spell support for him. You can see the lead belchers are still alive, and now I'm going to turn their firepower onto these tattered Warbears and Griffin Legion, who are about to break. Not too good for them. Boyar is being a champion and holding here in the middle. But you can see the lead I've got on VPs, and this is what I'm talking about. With how fast all my units are, it's been impossible up until now for my opponent to even get on the objective, you know? And now I've got even more guys coming in here. I've got Ogre Bolt, 2 Iron Fists, and more Gnoblar Trappers coming in. Opponent tries to dive with the Winged Lancers on top of the Lead Belchers, but just not enough. Saber Tusks intercept them, tear them apart, rout them off the field. Another Troll Guts on these Man-Eater pistols. Want to keep them alive as long as possible. Iron Guts in the front line, dump truck in these Kossar Spears. Got Gnoblar Trappers throwing their little scrap into the poor Frost Maiden here. Oh no! She doesn't have a lot of armor, so everyone takes a little bit of damage off of her. Poor boyar surrounded here, getting staggered and knocked around by all these ogres. Karate chops one, but he's not got a lot of health. Not much longer for him to stick around here. You can see the various buffs he's got popped now. You know, this guy was shockingly effective here. But now he's going to take a shot to the face. Skrag's going to come in here and push him off for good. You know, he's not going to be able to get out of there in time. And the Ice Maiden going, or the Tempest Maiden, sorry, going down. Streltsy compromised. They had to push in here to try and put pressure, but it's just not enough. And over here you can see, snuck my Gnoblars on top of this objective, capped it away from my opponent, and his Kossars got summoned in up here and were dropping some good fire on these guys, but couldn't get on the objective to stop the cap in time. And that's taking it away from the middle here. At this point, even if my opponent were able to retake the objective, it'd be too late. With another scrap launcher coming in, this one used all its ammo, by the way. Fantastic value over the course of this game. With the other one coming in here, any infantry, or even these Griffin Legion and Warbear Riders are going to suffer under that firepower. Because not tons of armor piercing damage, like I said, but those projectiles, they hit. They hit, man. Man-Eaters sitting back here, still got a little bit of ammo and doing good damage against those Warbear Riders. And there you go. That's going to be the end of that one. This replay, man, I'm telling you, I think it shows the power of Ogre mobility really well. Especially on these maps with longer travel times to the objectives. Ogres have a huge advantage, especially if you play into their melee capabilities, which are good. They're really good. Not as good as their range pressure, obviously. But like I said, Ogres, I think, are probably the ultimate combined arms faction, quite frankly, because they can move fast, hit hard, and take no prisoners, man. You know, you don't want to get eaten by an ogre. I don't imagine being cooked by them is very fun. Look at the Iron Guts, man. 100 armor on an ogre unit is surprisingly pretty much nothing. Just their gut plate, a couple of pauldrons, a nice spiky helmet, and yeah, I'm gonna chalk up their 100 armor to being 30 of that armor just being their fuck huge sword, man. This thing is metal as hell. Crushing through stuff. You could probably block some arrows with that thing, right? You know, that's where that armor comes from. Love the pirate hats on these guys. I just like taking a little look after battles are over, just to get a good look, close up of all these units, man. You know, the little fur hats on these guys. You know, the wolf skins. Oh, the carnage, man. Streltsy and Gnoblars, ogres, just peppering the battlefield, man. You can see how intense the fight was in the middle here. All these courtiers got dumpstered, man. But they did a good job of holding in those Bearcat for my pistols to pick away at them, you know. And they did good damage themselves. It's just all that range fire really did them in. But yeah, well played to my opponent. I think wide Ogres versus wide Kislev, if you play it right, Ogres are going to win almost every time. Ogres are just incredibly powerful. 1800 value on these Man-Eater pistols. Very good value. Almost all of that is against Warbear Riders and Griffin Legion. Skrag got decent value. 800's not terrible. His utility is more important for the Gorger buffs and dropping heals in Bull Gorger. 2,000 value. 2,100 on Lead Belchers. 197 kills. Dumpstered the Zargard, dumpstered the Streltsy, put good pressure on my opponent's Kossar units. These guys threw in there with their little junk weapons and got good value. They stuck around the whole battle too. Really love Gnoblar trappers. Regular Gnoblars just aren't very good, obviously, but just the 250 extra gold. Being 450, these guys are still cheap. Obviously much more expensive than regular Gnoblars, but the little ranged weapon that they have really provides an obscene amount of value if you're able to use their ammo. So, like I think I mentioned it in the last battle, probably mentioned it in this one, it behooves you to keep these guys alive. 1,300 on these man-eaters fighting those war bears, just head up. And they did work, man. You know, they hung in there. They did exactly what they needed to do. These guys are a really good unit. I think that paying the 100 extra gold for the Iron Fists is even better. But in this build, I wanted to try out the scrap launcher and go a little bit wider. Just to saturate targets. So I didn't have the gold for the 100. Maybe I'll cut a Gnoblar and just bring one of them, or hell, I don't even like using Gorgers all that much, honestly. Might even just drop those two entirely, get rid of Cauldron of the Maw on Skrag, and save even more gold, and then I can bring in 3 units of the Iron Fist Man-Eaters. 2 of them in the start, even, at that point. But, yeah, these Iron Guts got decent value. You know, they stuck their head in there to fight those, Kossars and other Kislev infantry, and some Warbear riders too, if I'm not mistaken. Scrap Launcher just paid for itself over the course of that whole game, and it provided good disruption to my enemy's infantry units, because units that are knocked over can't shoot. Even if they don't die outright, just making it hard for Kislev's units to get the value that they can get is really powerful. And you can guess which units went uncontested the longest. 2,200 value on these Kossar spears. Good grief, man. Only 11 kills, but you can... That's because they were shooting into Skrag, into these Gorgers, picking them apart, doing really good work. Streltsy didn't quite pay for themselves. These Zargard just dumpstered. 61 kills, but only 190 value. Not worth it when these Lead Belchers just tore them apart. 1,300 on the Warbears. Again, not quite paying for themselves. Getting into that fight with the Gorgers and getting shot at by the Man-Eaters was just too much for them. Boyar didn't get a lot of value. Tanked really well, though. If you're going to bring him, that's what he's good at. 1,100 on the Frostmaiden Tempest. You know, decent. I think that really what it was is, you know, his build just wasn't quite meant to fight against this really obscenely wide Ogre's build. And with how fast I was just able to beat him to the objective time and again with my units. You know, he was forced to feed into the middle to try and capture, which is exactly where I wanted him. Good value on my Saber Tusks. Again, you know, you can see 99 kills on these guys. And those little scrap weapons, man, they're great. Wonderful, wonderful use. 500 on these guys. They were thrown into those Warbears too. Ogre Bulls, you know, these guys usually don't pay for themselves, honestly. But they are good frontline holders. And they buffer for more valuable units who do the DPS and melee really well, like Iron Guts and Man-Eaters, Gorgers, if they're there. But yeah, that's going to be it for this replay. Thanks for watching if you're here. Just wanted to show off some some different ogres than what you might normally see on ladder. So yeah, take it easy, y'all.